You're probably not overspending on software, but you are massively underestimating what it's actually costing you. You might be paying $2,000 a month for a tool, but the real cost of your stack could be 10 times that. The real problem isn't how many tools you use, it's how disconnected they are. And this is exactly why we focus on revenue systems at Adonis Media, not just tools. If you're running a business and your team's jumping between spreadsheets, CRMs, tools, dashboards, then this episode is for you. Today we're going to break down the hidden costs of fragmented systems and why it's quietly killing your efficiency, your data, and your revenue. Over 90% of people watching the podcast aren't actually subscribed, and we post conversations like this every single week. So if you're serious about building a predictable, scalable system, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Hi guys, welcome back for episode 61. So I really wanted to just hone in on fragmentation tax, because I think that's something that's very relevant but not really spoken about much. So what is fragmentation tax? So that's the invisible cost that you end up paying when your systems grow disconnected. So you might have a website and then you need plugins for that website, but then what happens is those plugins might actually negatively affect your software. So then you add a different plugin to fix that problem, and then it's a never-ending process of just adding different plugins. And while that might solve one area, it actually ends up creating 3 more problems for you.
And the thing is, we see this pretty much all the time. I mean, in terms of plugins, I mean, it's not just plugins for your website and things. It's about having disconnected tools as well. So
Yeah.
generally what will happen is most businesses go to like either a web designer or a marketing agency, and they generally all get delivered the same software, which is generally either WordPress or maybe another open source software, or
Yeah.
if they're with a marketing agency, they'll get prescribed HubSpot, for instance. And then what happens is they've got their website, which is already built on something. They've then got a CRM, which is built on something else. It might be Pipedrive, it could be HubSpot, etc., etc. And then because they're a B2B company, they want to enrich their CRM, so then they need another third-party API tool to enrich their CRM, and then it's just never ending. It just goes on and on and on, and before you know it, they end up spending over $2,000 or more, even on a monthly basis, just to actually pay the subscriptions for these products. And the thing is, a lot of these solutions generally are good at whatever they do. A lot of them say that they're best in breed, so they focus on one thing. But the problem with that is then they don't all talk to each other. So that means that the data has got to manually be moved about, and with people, I mean, people unfortunately are just normal everyday people, which can cause issues when they're moving data and things around,
Make mistakes, yeah.
So they make mistakes and things. So there's a lot of problems with having all these different tools, and you think that you're making headway because you've got this, and this, but there's still not an integrated tech stack, in which case then that causes fragmentation between the different tech stacks, and then causes fragmentation even within the teams. And a prime example of this is marketing and sales, where marketing and sales are generally siloed. Even after 24 years, I still talk about the same thing. They're still siloed. They still want to, marketing wants to keep a hold of their stuff and sales wants to keep a hold of their stuff, whereas they should be combined into a revenue team so that they share the same goals, share the same measurements. They both agree what a marketing lead is, what a sales lead is, etc., etc. And in terms of the fragmentation, apart from obviously being siloed, you generally find as well that some of those teams actually have different tools. So one's using maybe one tool for the CRM, and market's using something different, only because whoever's in marketing knows that particular tool and this kind of things. It's just it ends up with a big spaghetti mess of tooling and siloed, fragmented systems and a fragmented team. And a lot of BB CEOs and founders of things will sit and wonder, you know, at the end of the month, end of the year, end of the quarter, you know, where's the money that we're making? Where's it all going? Well, it's seeping through the leaky bucket, which is your fragmented system. That's where it's going.
Yeah. And the problem with having a fragmented team is they actually end up working against each other, because marketing is saying, well, I'm getting you leads, and then sales saying, well, the leads are crap, and they're like, no, they're no, and you need to be better at selling, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, there's a lot of resentment built up
Yeah.
in there. Yeah. And most businesses end up tracking, you know, software costs, subscriptions, or the tools, and they think, oh, it's only $200 a month, let me just get this. But then, oh, this one's $800 a month, let me get this. So then I need a CRM, which is $1,000 a month, let me get this. And then the websites, and then you end up spending like 10 grand, you know, whatever, a month on all these different tools that you're not using to the fullest potential, because somebody needs to manually learn how to use the tools.
That's right. And it's not just that, a lot of the tools have overlap within them as well. A lot of people, like one of your previous clients was using Podium, paying $800 US a month for Podium, which I know they were trying to use as a live chat, which nobody used. And nobody logged in because they didn't know how to use it. You know, so even just going in and having a look at the tech stack for us, which is what we do with all the clients, you know, we eliminated $1,000 a month or more. I think it was more than that. So
I think it's like 1.2
AUD
AUD.
a month just for tools that they're not kind of using, you know. So
there's 13-14 grand saved a year
that's right. So
just by
and that's the thing that a lot of them didn't track is, you know, they're like time lost, you know, switching between different tools. So they've not got like a single interface unlike our software. They've got to go to all these different places, which was one of the bugbears for us, which is why we built our platform, you know, so that we didn't have, so our team doesn't waste time on all these different systems, having to learn like again 3 or 4 different social media systems just to post something. It's just madness. So they don't track that either, you know, all that manual work, you know. There's always data inconsistencies. I mean, even when you go into Meta Facebook and things like that, and you look at some of the data, you know, some of the data's, it's not really actionable, you know, it's just seems to be just limited in what you can actually gather. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that causes inconsistencies, especially when you're trying to bring all the data together and try and get an overall view of how the business is performing. And then there's obviously process breakdowns there as well, because you're needing to learn, you know, LinkedIn, the Meta family, and that's different as well, even for your platform. With the social medias now, you've got to learn Pinterest if you're on there, and you've got to learn, you know, all the different aspects of all these different systems, and they all update as well, periodically as well. So that's more processes and SOPs that you need to kind of develop to try and keep people on track, and then that just costs even more money and even more time, and that's where all the fragmentation happens, you know. So that's exactly what we try and solve.
Yeah. And I think the real cost isn't actually the tools. So it's not looking at, okay, well, I'm only spending $200 a month, so that's fine. It's everything that's required to make the tools work together. So like you said, the time lost, you know, how the manual labor that it's taking you to learn how to use it, if you're actually even using it to its full potential, if it's, you know, connecting with all these different other things. And you're not just paying for the software, you're paying for all the gaps that's between it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you decide to jump on HubSpot, which everybody is recommended to do nowadays, you know, because it's seen as the all-in-one kind of system, which is, I mean, it's still a fragmented system itself. And really, in order for you to get the best out of HubSpot, I mean, HubSpot was, you know, it was initially a CRM, and then they started to bolt on these other bits and pieces like CMS. And I mean, the CMS isn't the best in breed, let's be honest. It's quite limited, especially from a developer's point of view, where we like to, because we have access to every single line of code, which includes the systems running it, like the hosting environments and all that kind of stuff, which affect the not just the security but the performance of the websites and things. We
Yeah.
like to keep in control, and I think that control is where a lot of B2B businesses are looking to move now, where we've done the all-in-one kind of SaaS system like HubSpot, and we've been absorbed into there. But at the end of the day, those kind of tools are still a single application. So it's almost like if you can imagine like a big block of flats with 3,000 flats in them, in this big block. There's 3,000 other businesses. Obviously, there's a lot more than that. With these big SaaS applications. So if you can imagine, so in that big block, you're sharing all the resources. You're sharing everything. So, probably every single resource that you can imagine. So if you take that in comparison to what we deliver in terms of, yes, you get access to use our platform, is on its own resource system, because we obviously manage our own hosting environments. So that means that our clients have complete control over everything. So we build the system, we manage the system, we wrote every line of code in the system. So when we bring over our clients, yes, they end up with, they get access to a core system, then we build that system around their business rather than trying to squeeze their business into the system, which is a big benefit, and that means the business our system can then grow and evolve with their business and actually help their business far better than what any other SaaS multi-app SaaS system can do, like HubSpot, for instance.
But that's how it should be. It shouldn't be a case of, I fit my business into your tool. It should be my tool, or, our revenue system fits your business and your business in 3, 5, 10 years. It continuously evolves with you, because you should be looking at that long-term view. It shouldn't just be a case of, we'll just use this now just till next year and then we'll evaluate. Because then you're just wasting time learning a new system, using a new system to just get rid of it.
Well, that's right. But I mean, most B2B companies, depend on the people that are procuring the SaaS tools, and a lot of them go on recommendations. So, if most people are recommending, HubSpot's your best bet, which it might be until they know about us. See, the problem is in this kind of sphere, you've got like smaller businesses. There's nothing wrong with these guys, right? These guys exist to serve a separate market, and I've probably been one of these as well, whereby they're just getting started in business. They sign up to a hosting platform, and then they essentially become a reseller, which, by the way, is exactly what most partners are on HubSpot. They just resell on the HubSpot platform, and then the partners getting they essentially get
Commission.
the work. They get
Yeah.
commission, and they get the work for that the setup stuff and the ongoing maintenance and things like that as well. So it's a kind of win-win there. But in this kind of sphere, you've got that, and in actual fact, we've got a client who's they're just moving business at the minute, and what they're doing is when he came to us, we tried to bring over his domain name, get access to his Office 365, because we manage that as well, as we do Google Workspace and that kind of stuff, so that he's got a one point of contact. Unfortunately, the person who set this up is a reseller for GoDaddy, and if everybody knows anything about how GoDaddy works in terms of the licensing for Office 365, it's difficult to actually move them out of that. But it was difficult myself just try to get in contact with this other guy who was reselling the hosting and things to the client, who was, I think he had his own business, or he was working for full time for someone. And this is what it's like. It's a flipping nightmare. That itself is fragmentation, and it's taken him like days to try and sort things out just to get access to his emails, and it's just a flipping bollock. So that's what we're trying to solve. Yes, you have one point of contact, you have one monthly subscription, everything's included. you know, and if you decide to go with to partner with a revenue team, you know, you've got a whole revenue team to actually build and execute on your behalf.
Yeah.
All you need to do is deal with the leads that are coming in, which we'll be generating between 40 to 60 as your average per month, and make sure that's you know, your pipeline's full. And again, that's part of our job. And with us, of course, it's not just a case of, you know, we'll send you the leads and then that's it. You know, we've built a system so that you know, apart from obviously having a prospecting system in there, prospecting engine, which is pretty bloody good for B2B. We also have built the systems where leads are kind of managed by either the revenue team or the business themselves, which we can help set that up for them, you know. So it's all about us actually being part of their team. It's not about us and them. It's about us actually being a proper partner and embedding ourselves within that business, understanding how they work, and then we look at our system and we optimize our system. And if that means that we build a bit of software in order to continually grow their business, then that's included without any additional cost. How amazing! If there's changes needed to the platform, then that's included. If you're a UK-based company and you've got data governance requires you to have your data hosted in the UK, we can do that, you know. So and that's why, you know, working with Adonis Media as we push into our new brand Bodaria will be beneficial for businesses to remove that fragmentation. If there's no fragmentation in the system, that means there's everything's running more efficiently, and ultimately you make more money and bottom line.
Yeah. So fragmentation also looks like, you know, like we've mentioned, copying data between different platforms manually, updating spreadsheets manually, checking multiple different dashboards, and then trying to understand, you know, your ROI and all that sort of stuff. So that might even be looking at maybe your website, how many traffic you're getting from there, Google Analytics, what's happening there. You know, all these different platforms where you're trying to understand where all your money's getting spent and what the ROI is. And it can also look like, you know, marketing. They have leads in one system, sales are tracking it in another system, the delivery is managed somewhere else, and there's just no single source of truth. And it makes it really hard to make data-driven decisions, because when the systems aren't connected, then the people become the integration layer, and people make mistakes.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and your team shouldn't be acting as a middleware either for any decisions or you know, making things happen. I mean, what we've done within our system is we've created an AI agent. So we've got a social media AI agent, and that social media AI agent speaks with sub agents. So for every platform that you add, whether that be X or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it is, we create an agent specifically for that particular channel, and then the social media manager manages that, as in the AI agent manager. So our system, for instance, can take what the manual person would maybe be doing, someone within the team, and create a whole week's worth of posts, each specifically modified for the channel, which are obviously developed by the sub-agents. And that's the kind of thing that people need to be looking at now as well. You know, can this bit of grunt that we need to do in order to post, because let's be honest, Chloe, you've been in the same position as well, when you've got a post and you're jumping from dashboard to dashboard, from system to system, and you're having to modify the images, you're having to modify the content, you're having to log in on these multiple platforms. It's a flipping nightmare. And that fragmentation exists in pretty much every business, unless you're working with us, because we can automate that whole process. Because it is integrated as well, like when you're talking about, you know, a single source of truth, well, our system is a single source of truth because it is a single system, which essentially goes into these other systems and draws in all the data and compiles it in a dashboard for you.
Yeah. But I think we have a really good advantage is the fact that you are a software engineer. Not a lot of businesses have that. And I think a lot of people go in and go, especially now, they're like, oh, I'll just create it on AI. But then they don't take into account the security, you know. If you were to go in and look at the back end of our website, you will see how many people try and hack into our systems every single minute. There's hackers out there that are continuously just sitting there trying to hack servers, hack different softwares, different websites, whatever, every single second. And it is so important that you take all the security side of stuff seriously. It's not just a case of, oh, let me just get this up and then that'll be fine, until you've done all this work, spent all this time developing a system that's been hacked and taken over by somebody in China or, India.
No, it's not just that. I mean, some of the issues that exist. I've seen people even here in Mackay, where they're starting to learn about vibe coding and they think it's amazing. Listen, I think it's good that people are able to create these things, but from a technical point of view, you need to have that foundational understanding of how
Yeah.
a website actually works.
Yeah.
What's the transactions that goes on in the background. When I click this link, what happens in the background of the software? I don't think that people, a lot of businesses aren't really thinking about that, or the technical aspects of adding even SEO stuff like schema and all this kind of stuff. And of course, AI can help, but you need that foundation, foundational understanding
Yeah.
of software engineering to build a production ready application. And some of these websites that are out there at the moment, which I've seen a couple, where they're trying to move away from marketing agencies, reduce costs, which is actually just probably increasing their costs in the long run, because if you're vibe coding, you still have to pay for credits. But it's the cost that's involved with what happens if someone actually hacks this website, which I think will become an even more common thing now, with a lot of these
Yeah.
these vibe coded applications. But when if businesses aren't taking these things seriously, which they should be. And I
Well, you
think,
look at
yeah,
you look at like Medibank. Medibank is a massive, corporation in Australia, and they got hacked into. So your little vibe coded thing is definitely going to get hacked if you don't have, the proper system in place,
well, time will tell.
privacy
Time will tell.
systems.
Certainly, if it was up to me, I mean, people should really be putting the security and things like that and on the shoulders of someone that actually knows what they're doing, rather than just assuming
Yeah.
that they're hosting an account or their AI application that's vibe coded this website for them in half a day, which they spent 20 grand for their previous website, which was hand coded.
Yeah.
And was nice and secure and things, but time will tell. The thing is, most stacks are this type or built over time, where they just add another tool to the stack that they've already got to try and solve a problem. It does generally solve a problem uh, at a particular time, but it then adds more complex, more complexity, and other issues to the ever-growing problem and ever-growing tech stack.
So I just want everybody to stop for a second and just think the cost of your tool isn't actually what you're paying on a monthly basis. It's what your team has to do extra because of the tools that you're adding. And this is the exact problem that we see when businesses don't have that defined revenue system, because everything becomes manual, it's disconnected, it's hard to scale, and it's either dependent on the people in the company or it becomes founder dependent, which makes it harder to sell.
Yeah, 100%.
And that manual work is the biggest leak when it comes to fragmentation, because it creates those repeated tasks, duplicated work, constant checking and double checking. And we're all human and we make these mistakes. That's just what happens. And some examples of that can be, re-entering lead data, updating the CRM manually, syncing spreadsheets. Like, if you're an established B2B business, generating that 2 to 3 million plus, you should be having a revenue system in place with no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, you need a revenue system. It's not a case of you're just starting out and you're trying to save money. That's a bit different. But the manual work that you're doing, it's not going to be able to scale you to that 5-10 million that you're expecting to get yourself to. Or even if you're at that 10 million and you want to get to 20 million.
Yeah, that's because it introduces errors and delays and inconsistency.
Yeah.
And if the system is just incorrect, then people essentially pay the price. And I was speaking to a head of sales last week, and what she was basically telling me is, even though they've got HubSpot and things like that, I don't think they've got the HubSpot dashboards and that set up properly, or they certainly are using the tool as much as possibly as much as they can. But I think there's a misconception here as well, where people think that, well, if I get a HubSpot, then that's going to solve all my problems. Well, it doesn't, because like every other tool out there, it adds more complexity to it. And if you don't understand how to set these things up, that's when you need to then bring in a HubSpot partner. And that can cost you like 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 grand plus, maybe for a project-based thing, or maybe 8 grand to set it up, or whatever it is, whatever they're charging now. But the thing is, they then need to learn it themselves in order to continue doing it. So it's always going to cost. There's always going to be a big cost there. It just depends what you want. Do you want to be able to sit back and let the system and the revenue team, which partner with you, do it for you, or do you want to employ another 2 or 3 people just to run the system, who probably still don't understand? Or you could get a marketer and a salesperson, I suppose, but you're spending, say on average you're spending about 80 grand a year per in Australian dollars or USD, for instance, for each hire, which doesn't include the leadership at 200 grand a year. So there's method. There's method in the madness of setting up and running a revenue system where everything's integrated into one system. It's no multiple systems or a system which is disconnected by tools.
But even the problem with having HubSpot and then getting a partner to sort that out is the fact that you're still trying to fit your business into a system that isn't built for your business.
That's correct, yes.
And you're limited to by what they want to add to the system, because they have multiple different clients that they have to serve, rather than having somebody that knows what they're doing and can make specific customized software for your business.
Well, it's not that as well. I mean, you'll also find that a lot of these partners are partners with other people, other businesses. So
yeah.
So what they'll basically do is they'll then recommend a bit of software where they're getting a kickback for selling it, like what they're doing for HubSpot, for instance.
Yeah.
So is that the best thing for your business, or is it the best thing for theirs? That's what you kind of need to ask. But this has been one of the things, like in my 24 plus years working in this in our own business. Every single business has a core. They all need marketing, they all need sales, they all need customer success, and they all need operations. That's the bottom line. But it's how you go about actually activating and executing on that, which makes a big difference. Where is your business chaotic? Is it still relying on people that can phone in sick, or is it run by AI, professionally written and prompted AI agents, which are running everything in the background, and all you need to do is go in and verify that these posts are fantastic. Let's get going with that campaign.
Yeah. So bad data equals bad decisions. So when your data is fragmented, it leads to reports not aligning, numbers not matching, insights aren't trusted, and then that will end up lead to slow decision making, second guessing yourself, missed opportunities.
Well, you can't build a revenue system on unreliable data, so that's a big part of our system, and that's a big issue with other fragmented tools. Is they're like little silos on their own with the data that they're showing you. And to be honest, excuse me, a lot of these tools that are providing this data provide the data that they think that you should be looking at, rather than something specific around your business. So, I mean, that again, that's something else that we do as well. While we provide the core system, we build and perfect it specifically for our clients' businesses. So if they're needing specific metrics on a specific dashboard for a particular C-suite role or whatever, then we make that happen.
Yeah, it's all custom to their business.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, if you don't trust your data, you can't trust your decisions, and that's an important thing that people need to remember when they're making data-driven decisions in their business.
But then your decisions end up coming from opinions, and not everybody has the same opinion, so it's not gonna, reflect in your ROI. Whereas if you look at the data and say, cool, this is working, let's do this, that's going to have a positive effect on your business, or a negative effect on your business, depending on what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So fragmented systems also mean no clear pipeline view, unclear performance metrics, gaps between marketing, sales, and delivery, reactive decisions, missed bottlenecks, unclear opportunities. And it's the visibility that really allows that optimization. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
Yeah, 100%. And this also leads to slower execution, because it slows down processes. So you've spent the time setting up all these SOPs for your team, but it's just slow to execute because they need to jump from over 5 or 6 different tools just to send a post. And this is why a lot of businesses probably maybe miss out in sales as well, is because they're trying to focus just on one platform, because it just takes up too much time, and we know that, and what that does is it just creates friction, it delays outcomes. And examples of that is slower lead follow-up, delayed reporting, slower onboarding. It's just, to be honest, I mean, speed matters in a revenue system, and a lot of businesses talk about speed to lead. How fast can you get onto that lead as soon as they reach out? Because the faster you reach out to them and deal with that prospect or that lead, the more chance you've got to actually converting them. So fragmentation reduces speed no end.
Yeah. So what does a connected revenue system actually look like? It's having that one source of truth. So that strong revenue system has centralized data, it has consistent tracking, clear visibility. Everyone works from the same information, and that clarity really comes from that alignment. You have one business, one system, and one source of truth.
100%.
And you go, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say 100%. And that's really what every business should be aiming for. Just have one business, one system, one source of truth. No these disconnected systems.
Yeah.
And to be honest, in this day and age, especially with the advent of AI as well, your system should do most of the work for you. And that's why, again, like we've already discussed, why we're building AI agents to try and manage a lot of the platform-specific stuff. And the grunt work is what I call it, the work that needs to be done in order to make things happen. So automation replaces the manual updates, the repeated tasks, the unnecessary steps that a human needs to actually take, which allows them to focus on higher value work. So this kind of shifts the focus from doing to designing. So your team should focus on more decisions, the strategy, and the execution, not the admin of everything else that entails.
Yeah.
So realistically, your system should be working harder than your team. And as well, what else this does as well is, because you've got these AI agents and things, and the system's almost running autonomously, there's no need for you to bring in a massive team of people in order to do, we need a LinkedIn expert, we need a Facebook expert, we need an SEO expert, we need a copywriter, we need this, where you've got no, I'm not saying didn't get those, but what I'm saying is you don't need all of that, especially when you've got a revenue system there to help you that acts as those team members within your team.
Yeah. And you also have alignment across your marketing, sales, and customer success operations. And this is probably the biggest one, because that connected system means that marketing feeds the sales, sales feeds the delivery, and the delivery feeds that retention. And everything is linked. So that customer journey from start to end is just immaculate. And that revenue system really requires that alignment, so it's not got any silos.
That's right. And, I was talking, the sales leader I was talking to last week as well, we were discussing like onboarding. So what happens is when she gets a sale, she then needs to, and we've done this as well, right? What needs to happen is there's a document sent to the client fills in the document comes back. It's all manually sent by emails.
Yeah.
So what we've done with our system is, because you're actually posting from the actual system and everything's reporting there, you're getting right up to date reporting on and you can see exactly what's happening right now, right? Which includes the social inbox and things, so that when people are contacting you, there's one one place to look for all these contacts. So what happens is you're posting out there, then you can see that a post has brought this person, that particular post has brought this person over to the website. They've went on to the AI bot, or they've went on to the contact page, have contacted us. So they've now been put into the lead system, which happens automatically. So before we even speak to anyone, we can actually help take them through to either submit a contact request where they can book a meeting kind of manually, or we take them through a system where AI can actually schedule a meeting for them right away. So that goes right into the calendar, into the CRM. They get put on the pipeline board, and then from there, admin can come in. They can have a meeting with them whenever that meeting is. Once they've done the meeting, they can then go straight in and they can create a proposal in admin with all the line items that they've spoke about. That proposal gets attached to that lead and convert at that particular point. So what happens is once the proposal's ready, it's sent. It sends a secure link to the prospect. If the prospect clicks the link, comes back to the website, goes through the proposal. They can then digitally sign that proposal. The system knows that they've signed it, so that then kicks off a project which is created automatically within our project management system within the CRM, and it adds all the tasks based on the line items within the proposal. And then that starts the onboarding process directly. So there's no need for us to manually send out documents and all this kind of stuff. Everything's done by the system, and that system is a single source of truth. So that prospect, once converted to a customer, can then come back and log in. They can see everything. They can see the proposal. They can see what date they signed it. They can see their orders. They can see what they're paying for.
Yeah. And then you can have automated emails sent to them. Welcome, blah, 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 blah. This is what's happening. They log in, they see everything. It makes life a lot easier. And then the client is not sitting there wondering, twiddling their thumbs, going, oh, what's even happening?
That's right. Because they've got full visibility. And that's what people want. They want to know what's going on, what's happening. They want to see that things are actually happening in the background,
Yeah. So how do you actually fix fragmentation? So the first thing you want to do is you want to audit your stack. You want to ask yourself, what tools do we use? What overlaps? And where is the data duplicated? And identify those unnecessary tools and gaps between your systems. You then want to simplify things before you add new things. So instead of adding tools, you want to reduce complexity, remove redundancy, and consolidate where possible. More tools does not equal better systems. You want to design the system, not just the stack. So you want to start with how the business should operate, how data should flow, how teams should interact, and then you can choose tools that will support that. Now, ideally, you want to have something like what we have at Adonis, which is a full revenue system. So everything is in one login detail rather than having, disconnected tools, because that's the whole point of fragmentations. But the tools that you do use should fit your system. So depending on where you are in your journey, we service clients from about 3 million revenue per year. So our clients, they need that full system. But if you're just starting out and, you need to get some stuff done, look at the tools. The tools should fit your system and where you want to be, not the other way around.
100%. And that's one of the big benefits of working with us, as as we've said many times, even in this podcast, that your tools or your system or whatever it is that you're using should work and evolve with your business. It shouldn't be a case of, well, it does this but it doesn't do that. It should be a case of, okay, well, we've got this core system, but here's what else we could do or need to do in order to drive revenue 10 times. And if that's the case, rather than going out and spending another 50, 60 grand for a partner to integrate another tool for you, is we'll build it. We'll build it for you, because that's what our system is all about. It's all about having a one business, one system, one monthly fee.
And that's the thing with our revenue system. Every single client that we've had come on, our revenue system has doubled, tripled their revenue within the first year of being with us.
Yep.
And even the clients that are just on the system and don't do the full revenue team, they've still, gosh, I think, one of our clients is probably like 5 times his revenue.
Yep. And usually well within that 12-month mark as well.
Yeah, well before then. So the problem is you don't have a software cost problem, you have a system design problem. And the businesses that scale aren't the ones with the most tools, they're the ones with the best systems. So if you found this valuable, make sure you subscribe to the Adonis Effect. And if you're serious about building scalable, connected revenue systems, make sure you follow Adonis Media on all of our platforms.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you next week. Bye.